There are places on the map that seem to exist in the quiet spaces between headlines. Nations whose stories are whispered rather than shouted. They are lands defined not by what is new, but by the immense weight and richness of what has endured. In the very heart of the Balkan Peninsula, at a historic and geographic crossroads of Europe, lies such a place as Serbia. Its name evokes a complex tapestry of images, of empires risen and fallen, of fierce independence and profound artistry. But to truly begin to understand this nation, one must look past the turbulent currents of history and first grasp the unyielding force that has shaped it from the very beginning. To understand Serbia is to understand the profound influence of geography on destiny. Look at a map, and you will see a country that is entirely landlocked, a fortress island in a sea of land. This absence of a coastline is not a deficiency, it is a defining characteristic. It has forced Serbia to look inward to its strengths and outward to its neighbors, creating a character of immense resilience. To the north, it shares the Great Pannonian Plain with Hungary. To the east and west, it is woven into the complex fabric of the Balkans, bordering Romania, Bulgaria, North Macedonia, Croatia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. This position has made its soil a thoroughfare for civilizations. Imagine the dust kicked up by Roman legions marching towards the frontier, the scent of spices from Ottoman caravans journeying west, the shadow of Austro-Hungarian banners passing through. Each left an indelible layer, a sentence in the nation's sprawling epic. But what does it mean to be a nation defined not by its coastlines, but by its currents? The true arteries of Serbia are its rivers. The mighty Danube, Europe's second longest river, flows not along its border, but directly through its heart, a grand aquatic highway connecting it to both Western and Eastern Europe. It is the country's main artery, a constant source of life, commerce, and connection. And in the capital, Belgrade, the Danube is met by its most vital tributary, the Sava. This confluence is the very soul of the nation, a meeting point of waters that mirrors the meeting of cultures throughout its history. This is a land whose identity was not forged in the salty spray of an ocean, but in the fresh, persistent flow of the continent's own circulatory system. How does a land, so often divided by empires, find its own singular voice? Perhaps the answer lies not in its borders, but in the relentless, unifying pulse of its rivers. To feel this truth, one must stand at the edge of the Kalemegdan fortress in Belgrade, perched high above the meeting of the two great rivers. From this vantage point, a new perspective opens up. Below, the Sava, having traveled through the heart of the Balkans, merges its waters with the immense, powerful flow of the Danube on its long journey to the Black Sea. It is a moment of quiet, elemental drama. The water's surface tells a story of two journeys becoming one. You can almost feel the deep time of this place, the silent weight of centuries settling around you. This is not merely a pretty view. It is the geographic soul of Serbia made visible. It's a physical reminder that this land has always been a place of convergence, a destination where disparate paths are drawn together to forge a new, shared direction. This confluence, then, is more than geography, it is the nation's most powerful metaphor. It represents a history of absorbing influences without losing its core identity, a culture of synthesis, and a spirit of endurance that is as steady and powerful as the rivers themselves. The story of Serbia is written in these currents, in the fertile plains they nourish, and in the strategic hills that overlook them. It's a grand, sweeping narrative that spans millennia. But a nation's soul is not only found in its grand vistas or its ancient stones. It beats strongest in the rhythm of its cities, in the daily life that unfolds on its streets, and in the spirit of the people who call it home. And it is there, in its vibrant capital, that our exploration truly begins. Every city offers a first impression, a silent handshake upon arrival. For many who journey to Belgrade, this initial greeting happens on the road from Nikola Tesla Airport. Here, the city imparts its first subtle lesson. One might be tempted by the immediate convenience of a taxi, a direct line into the urban core. Yet, the city quietly suggests a different path. It offers the humble municipal bus, the number 72, which weaves its way through the suburbs and into the center, not as a service for tourists, but as a lifeline for its own people. To choose this path is to choose immersion over insulation. It is a decision to enter the city, not as an observer looking through a window, but as a temporary participant in its daily rhythm. This single choice sets the tone for understanding Belgrade itself, a city that rewards those who are willing to look beyond the surface and engage with it on its own, unapologetic terms. Once you are within its embrace, you begin to notice what isn't there. In an age where major European capitals are defined by the subterranean spiderwebs of their metro systems, Belgrade stands apart. It has no underground. But what is a city without a subway? Is it incomplete, or is it simply different? The absence of a metro forces life to the surface. It means the city must be experienced at human speed, on foot or through the windows of a rumbling tram. This isn't a city you can teleport through. It is one you must traverse. The journey from one district to another becomes an experience in itself, a transition through neighborhoods with distinct personalities, forcing you to witness the subtle shifts in architecture, atmosphere, and the faces of the people. It fosters a more intimate, tactile relationship with the urban landscape, where the pulse of the city is felt not in the mechanical roar of a tunnel, but in the rhythmic shuffle of feet on stone. And what stories that stone tells! Belgrade's architecture is a lexicon of its tumultuous past, a physical timeline written in concrete, brick, and glass. The city does not hide its history, it wears it openly. You will find elegant 19th-century facades standing in quiet dignity next to the stark, monumental forms of Yugoslav-era brutalism. These immense concrete structures, often dismissed elsewhere as cold or imposing, possess a stubborn, concrete honesty here. They are not relics of a forgotten ideology, but enduring symbols of a period of reconstruction and nation building, of a defiant ambition to create a new society from the ashes of war. Their survival is a testament to the land itself. Why do these old structures, both grand and functional, remain so intact? Because the very ground beneath Belgrade is stable, having been spared the devastating earthquakes that have reshaped other Balkan cities. As a result, its buildings are not just structures, they are witnesses, silent observers that have watched history unfold on the streets below without being shaken from their foundations. This constant surface, level flow of life, through this museum of living architecture, inevitably funnels towards a single, vibrant artery, Nezmahalova Street. To call it a pedestrian shopping area is to do it a profound disservice. It is Belgrade's grand stage, its communal living room, its open-air heart. Here, the city's entire social spectrum converges. Well-dressed elites browse world-renowned brands, students gather with books and coffee, families enjoy a leisurely stroll, and the soulful melodies of a lone accordionist provide the soundtrack to it all. It is a river of humanity, flowing with a purpose that is both commercial and deeply social. To walk its length is to feel the undeniable energy of the capital, a relentless, optimistic forward momentum. It is proof that the true vitality of Belgrade is not found in grand monuments, but in the simple, beautiful, and chaotic act of its people coming together. Amidst this bustling modernity, you might notice a small, recurring detail, an act of quiet, communal trust that feels as if it belongs to another era. You will see people, old and young, local and visitor, lean down to drink directly from ornate public fountains, many of them centuries old. In a world obsessed with bottled water and sanitation, this gesture feels almost revolutionary. Consider the Yukur Su Esma, a fountain commemorating a boy whose simple act of fetching water sparked a historic conflict against the Ottomans. To drink from it today is to partake in a living ritual. The water is cold, clean, and drawn from the same deep, reliable sources that have sustained the city for generations. There is an unspoken social contract at play here. The city provides for its people, and the people, in turn, place their faith in the city. This simple act of drinking from a public spring is a profound statement of belonging, a testament to a deep, rooted confidence that connects the modern Belgrader to the most fundamental elements of their city's long and resilient history. Belgrade, then, reveals itself not all at once, but in layers. It is a city of surface-level energy and deep-seated trust, of architectural honesty and a relentless human spirit. To explore its streets is to read a story of survival, adaptation, and an unyielding sense of self. We have walked its pavement, felt its architectural skin, and tasted its foundational waters. We have seen the city as a physical entity, a complex and fascinating organism of stone and street. But the body is nothing without the lifeblood that flows within it. What of the people who give this city its voice and its character? What are the economic realities, the cultural values, and the social rhythms that define a life lived within these historic walls? To understand the city, we must now turn our gaze to the Serbians themselves. The soul of a place is not something you can photograph. It doesn't reside in stone monuments or grand landscapes. It lives and breathes in the collective rhythm of its people, in their work, their aspirations, their conversations, and in the intricate dance between what is necessary and what is cherished. To truly see Serbia, we must look at the invisible architecture that shapes every life here, the structure of its economy, and the profound cultural currents that flow through it. This is where the abstract idea of a nation becomes a tangible, human reality, a complex portrait painted in the currency of daily life, the Serbian dinar. To understand the choices a person makes, first understand the choices they have. In Serbia, the economic landscape is a terrain of stark contrasts. The average monthly income, while steadily growing, still presents a daily challenge when measured against the rising costs of a modern European life. This creates a culture of profound financial pragmatism, an inherited skill of turning limited resources into a rich and fulfilling existence. It is a reality that shapes everything, from career choices to family planning. What does it mean to build a life here? It means understanding value beyond price tags. It means that the true wealth of an evening is measured not by the expense of the restaurant, but by the richness of the conversation and the strength of the companionship. This economic reality is not a story of hardship, but a powerful narrative of resourcefulness, forcing a focus on what is fundamentally important: community, connection, and culture. And it is when the sun sets that this culture truly awakens. Serbian social life is a fascinating duality. On one hand, you have the vibrant, pulsing energy of modern Belgrade, with sleek clubs where the youth dance to global electronic beats, a scene as contemporary as any in Europe. But venture just a short walk away, and you step through a portal in time, into a different world entirely. You enter the gaslit, cobblestone streets of Skadarlija, the city's old Bohemian quarter. This is not merely a district, it is a living sanctuary of the Serbian soul. It is a place where time slows down, and the air itself feels thick with history and melody. Why does a place like this not only survive but thrive in a modern capital? Because it serves a purpose far deeper than entertainment. It is the guardian of a collective memory, a place where the nation comes to hear its own traditional heartbeat. Within this cultural context, a modern social evolution is taking place. The stereotype of a traditional, patriarchal Balkan society dissolves upon closer inspection. Here, you find a narrative of empowerment. Serbian women constitute a formidable portion of the workforce. Their presence felt powerfully across all sectors of society, from medicine and academia to business and the arts. Consequently, the timelines for life's major milestones, like marriage and starting a family, have shifted. There is a strong emphasis on education and career, building in one's 20s, a period of self-discovery and professional establishment. This is not a rejection of family values, but rather a reordering of them. A modern European story of building a solid foundation before constructing a home. This reflects a society that, while deeply proud of its traditions, is not bound by them. It is forward-looking, valuing the contribution and ambition of all its people. And this outward-looking perspective is most evident in its youth. You will find that English is spoken with remarkable fluency, not just as a transactional tool for tourism, but as a genuine bridge to the wider world. A sign of a generation eager to engage, share, and connect. To understand the soul of Skadarlija, you must sit at a small wooden table, on a chair that has held generations of patrons. The evening begins. A group of musicians, clad in traditional attire, approach your table. There is no stage, no microphone, only the intimate space between you and them. The man with the tamburica, a stringed instrument with a uniquely Balkan sound, begins to play. His eyes might close as he coaxes a melody from the strings. A sound that is at once mournful and joyful, carrying the weight of centuries of love, loss, and defiance. Then, a singer begins, his voice not trained for a concert hall, but weathered by life, thick with history. He doesn't just perform a song, he inhabits it. He sings of lost loves, of rolling hills, of a defiant pride. For a moment, the entire restaurant falls silent, captivated. In this single, unamplified performance, you are not a tourist watching a show. You are a guest, invited into a sacred space, witnessing a raw, unfiltered expression of cultural identity. This is the magic of Skadarlija. It makes history a felt experience, a living, breathing presence at your table. What emerges from this exploration is a portrait of a people engaged in a delicate and masterful balancing act. They navigate the practical demands of a modern economy, while fiercely protecting the deep, soulful roots of their culture. They are pragmatic yet passionate, forward-thinking yet deeply reverent of their past. This duality is the very essence of the modern Serbian identity, a constant negotiation between where they have come from and where they are going. But what forges such a resilient and complex identity? What are the foundational pillars, the great figures and the monumental beliefs that give this nation its unwavering sense of self, allowing it to absorb the shocks of history and still stand tall? To find that answer, we must journey from the lively streets into the hallowed halls of Serbia's most iconic institutions and meet the ghost of the genius who electrified the world. A nation's character is not born in a vacuum. It is forged in the crucible of its history, shaped by the towering figures who define its ideals and the monumental structures that anchor its faith. These are the pillars that hold up the collective identity, the load-bearing walls of the national soul that remain standing long after empires have crumbled. In Serbia, to understand the present, one must engage with two such colossal pillars. One is a man of science who dreamed of a future of limitless energy, a mind whose brilliance illuminated the entire planet. The other is a house of God so vast, its construction spanned a century, mirroring the nation's own arduous journey through history. To explore these is to understand the twin forces that have shaped the Serbian spirit, the relentless pursuit of knowledge and an unshakable, profound faith. In a quiet street in Belgrade stands a modest villa, a place that holds the legacy of a mind that fundamentally rewired our world. This is the Nikola Tesla Museum. To step inside is to enter the thought space of a true visionary. Tesla, though he spent much of his life in America, remains one of Serbia's most revered sons, a symbol of pure, unbridled genius. But why does his legacy resonate so powerfully here? Because his story is the ultimate Serbian epic of intellect and endurance. He was a man who saw the world not as it was, but as it could be. His work with alternating current was not just an engineering feat. It was a democratic vision. It was a dream of transmitting power over vast distances, of bringing light and energy to every corner of the globe, affordably and efficiently. He engaged in a fierce war of currents with Thomas Edison, a battle that was as much about philosophy as it was about physics. The battle between a closed, proprietary system and an open, accessible one. Tesla's ultimate victory changed the course of human civilization, laying the groundwork for the entire modern electrical grid. Yet, his own life was not a story of commercial triumph. He died penniless in a hotel room, a genius whose brilliance in the laboratory was not matched by acumen in the boardroom. And perhaps this is the very core of his enduring appeal. He represents the ideal of knowledge for its own sake, of a pursuit driven by curiosity and a desire to benefit humanity, rather than a lust for personal wealth. He is a figure of almost mythic proportions. The brilliant outsider, the misunderstood prophet whose ideas were so far ahead of their time, they seemed like magic. Does a nation need such heroes? Absolutely. For Serbia, Tesla is more than an inventor. He is a testament to the power of the human mind to transcend borders, overcome adversity, and change the world from the quiet solitude of a laboratory. He is proof that a nation's greatest exports can be its ideas. From this temple of science, our journey takes us to a temple of faith, A structure of such breathtaking scale, it dominates the Belgrade skyline, the Cathedral of St. Sava. To stand before it is to be humbled. It is one of the largest Orthodox churches in the world, a colossal white marble monument crowned with a massive central dome. But its size is not its most compelling feature. Its true story is etched into the very stones of its century-long construction. Work began in 1935, but history intervened. World War II, the rise of communism, the Yugoslav wars, each new chapter of national turmoil brought the work to a halt. For decades, the massive, unfinished concrete shell stood as a stark, hollow monument to a dream deferred, a silent witness to the nation's struggles. Why is its slow, arduous completion so significant? Because the story of this cathedral is the story of Serbia itself. Its construction is a powerful metaphor for national perseverance. Each time the nation was fractured by conflict or suppressed by ideology, the dream of completing St. Sava was held in the hearts of the people. To finally see its vast interior adorned with shimmering golden mosaics in recent years is to witness the culmination of a century of resilience, a declaration in stone and glass that faith, like the nation itself, can endure the longest of winters. Imagine yourself standing inside the cathedral, directly beneath the central dome. You crane your neck back, and the world falls away. Above you, a breathtaking mosaic of Christ Pantocrator, rendered in millions of tiny glass and stone tessera, glitters in the light. It is an immense, celestial vision, spanning over 1,000 square meters. The sheer scale is disorienting, designed to make you feel small, to evoke a sense of awe and transcendence. But look closer. Each tiny tile was laid by hand, a painstaking process involving hundreds of artisans over several years. It is an act of collective devotion on an almost unimaginable scale. The light catches the gold leaf, creating a shimmering, ethereal glow that seems to breathe. In this moment, the immense weight of the building dissolves into a feeling of incredible lightness. You are not just in a building, you are inside an idea, the idea that human hands, working together in common purpose over generations, can create something truly divine. It is here, in the quiet glow of the mosaic, that the Serbian pillars of intellect and faith converge at the meticulous, scientific precision of the artistry serving a purpose that is purely spiritual. These two pillars, the legacy of Tesla's genius and the enduring faith embodied by St. Sava, provide a profound insight into the Serbian psyche. They reveal a culture that deeply values both intellectual innovation and spiritual tradition, a people capable of looking to the stars while keeping their feet firmly planted on sacred ground. This is the bedrock of their identity, the source of the resilience we have witnessed on the streets and in the history of Belgrade. We have explored the heart of the city, met its people, and stood in the shadow of its greatest icons. But now, it is time to lift our gaze from the capital and ask a final, crucial question. Having built such a strong sense of self, how does Serbia now face the world? What does it mean to be a nation at this unique crossroads, navigating its future on the complex stage of international relations and global tourism? We began our journey by observing Serbia as a landlocked island, a nation defined by the rivers that flow through it rather than the seas that surround it. We have walked the streets of its resilient capital, listened to the rhythms of its culture, and stood in awe of the monumental pillars of its history and faith. We have seen a nation from the inside out. Now, we must turn our perspective one last time. From this deep understanding of its internal character, we can finally appreciate how Serbia presents itself to the wider world. The final chapter in understanding any place is to see it not just as a destination, but as an actor on the global stage, a nation with a unique voice and a distinct path forward. How does a country with such a complex identity and a non-aligned spirit navigate the currents of the 21st century? Serbia occupies a fascinating and singular position in the geopolitical landscape of modern Europe. It is a nation that embodies a kind of strategic ambiguity. It is not a member of the European Union, yet its citizens enjoy visa-free travel to the Schengen area, granting them access to the very heart of the continent. Simultaneously, it maintains strong, historic ties with the East, holding similar visa-free arrangements with powers like Russia and China. What does this diplomatic balancing act signify? It is the foreign policy of a nation that has learned from history the peril of being exclusively aligned with any single bluff. It is a pragmatic choice to remain a bridge rather than a fortress, a space for dialogue rather than a frontier. This path, while complex, allows Serbia to maintain a fierce independence, engaging with all sides on its own terms. It is the posture of a country that refuses to be a pawn in anyone else's game, a modern expression of the same defiant spirit that has defined it for centuries. This unique position directly influences who comes to visit. Serbia's tourism landscape is not one of mass market resorts and crowded beaches. It is more nuanced, drawing travelers who seek something other than the conventional European holiday. For example, the lifting of visa requirements for Turkish citizens has opened a significant corridor, not just for tourism, but for a cultural reconnection rooted in centuries of shared, albeit complicated history. Similarly, it remains a popular destination for visitors from across the Balkans and Russia, drawn by a sense of cultural and linguistic familiarity. However, the numbers tell a revealing story. While a single Greek island like Crete might attract over 3 million tourists annually, Serbia as a whole hosts around 2 million. Is this a sign of failure? Not at all. It is a sign of a different kind of success. It means that those who come here are often seeking a more authentic, less curated experience. They are travelers, not tourists, drawn by the allure of a culture that has not yet been diluted by the homogenizing forces of global tourism. Imagine you are sitting at an outdoor cafe in Belgrade. At the table next to you, a group of young Serbians are in a lively conversation. They seamlessly switch between Serbian and fluent, idiomatic English. They are discussing global politics, a new startup idea, and plans for a weekend trip to a music festival in a neighboring country. Their perspective is not provincial, it is cosmopolitan. They are deeply Serbian, yet they are also citizens of the world. This small, everyday scene is perhaps the most powerful indicator of the country's future. It is a future being built by a generation that is educated, multilingual, and digitally connected. They carry their national identity with pride, but not as a wall that separates them from the world. For them, it is a foundation upon which they can build bridges, a unique cultural lens through which they can engage with and contribute to the global conversation. So, what is the final portrait of Serbia? It is a nation of captivating contrasts. It is a land of deep history that is simultaneously youthful and forward-looking. It is a country facing real economic challenges, yet possessing an immeasurable cultural wealth. It is fiercely independent yet openly welcoming. It may not offer the polished ease of more mainstream destinations, but it offers something far more valuable in return: a genuine, profound, and unforgettable human experience. To visit Serbia is to be reminded that the most rewarding journeys are not always to the most famous places. They are to the places that challenge our preconceptions, engage our minds, and touch our souls. It is a nation that does not shout for your attention, but if you listen closely, it will tell you one of the most compelling stories in all of Europe.